Right, we are live, of course, if you're joining us for the first time this afternoon. We're in North London at the Chris Eubank Jr v Conor Benn weigh-in as we build up to a massive night of boxing tomorrow night live on the talkSPORT network. Joining us now to look ahead to that one is former two-weight champion of the world and part of our talkSPORT commentary team for tomorrow night. Hello, good evening. We bow to people like you. Steve Collins, good afternoon. How are you?
I'm living the dream.
Yeah, well, you look fantastic, and you know we're big fans of yours. We have been talking non-stop, as you would imagine, not just today, but in the weeks, not just this week, building up to what is quite a bizarre fight. There's no title, it's just pride on the line, but so much of it. Have you known in all your years of either being involved in fights yourself or going to other fights, have you ever known a build-up to a fight like this where there's nothing on it?
No, it doesn't happen very often. I mean, it's a real drama. There's so much history involved. The dads, there's the personalities. There's what's happened a couple of years ago. The fight was postponed. Everything about it is it's a promoter's dream, and it's a huge fight. And what I like about it is it's a good match. I cannot pick a winner. Both guys are good enough and capable of beating each other.
Steve, when we spoke to Eddie, he said that Conor Benn had a world title on the table to go for, but he opted to take this fight. Can you understand that?
Well, of course he would, because he wasn't fighting Chris Eubank Jr for the world title, was he?
No.
So he was fighting a big name. You know, if he fought for the title and won a title, you know, people may remember him fighting for the title, winning the title, but if he fights Chris Eubank Jr and beats Chris Eubank Jr, it'll go down in history and be remembered forever. Plus, he'll get more money, it's a bigger payday, and plus he'll get more worldwide attention, so it doesn't make sense, really. I mean, we'll give this a title.
Yeah.
We'll make a title for this. You know, there'll be a belt handed over tonight, it'll be given a name. You know, just like most of the titles that just
the
invented on the night.
drive-time world title. That's
let's have a competition.
Why don't we just the Andy Goldstein drive time?
Why Andy Goldstein?
Well, it's pointless both our names. Too much of a mouthful. Listen, let me get you.
Call these American programs where the families have that they fight
double
generations? No, these in the old American movies where the families fight forever. It's a clan fight. They hate each other.
I'm not fighting him.
The feud. I don't know. The feud. Probably feud title. I don't know.
Exactly.
I don't know.
Listen, the big news today is the weigh-in. Okay.
Yeah.
If people are joining us late, let me just ever so quickly clarify what happened. They've got to hit the 160. That's the magic number. Conor Benn came in at 156. Chris Eubank Jr turned up about an hour late, and because he was an hour late and he was slightly over, 160 was the limit. He came in at 160.05. He had 4 minutes to get that 0.5 off. He managed to get 0.03 off, so still weighed 160.02, which meant he was over. And he had to pay a fine of $500,000, £375,000. What have you made of the fact that he's come in over?
Bad planning. I mean, if he'd come in 4 or 5 pounds over, I'd been concerned. But because he came in so close to the weight, it's almost ridiculous. I think they should let it go. I don't think. I mean, to me, what weighs announced? If he shaved his beard off, he probably would have lost a couple of ounces. If I'd have been in his position, I'd have stood at the scales and said, this scale is off, have it calibrated, and left the room and come back 10 minutes later.
Can you do that?
I'd have done it. And I would have, they would have calibrated, then I said, let's get on it now. And believe me, that 10-15 minutes, I'd have lost 3 or 4 ounces for the sake of £500,000. But I'm not really concerned about it. No, if he was 4 or 5 pounds over, I'd be concerned because he's so close to it. It's you know, he could have walked on the block and lost that weight, you know, or just waited or lost that weight just naturally. So just bad planning.
I think by the time the fight happens, they reckon that Chris Eubank will maybe be a stone heavier than Conor Benn. Do you think that'll have a massive significance on the fight?
Of course it will. He's going to be a bigger, stronger man. It will make a difference, but you know, we've got heavyweight title fights, and we've got title fights where guys can weigh 30 pound, 40 pound difference. Look at Canelo has come up, you know, from weights. He's come up 4 or 5 divisions. You know, my favourite fighter of all time, Roberto Duran, came from lightweight up to super middleweight. It's not like there's a major physical size. There's a bit of height, but Conor is stocky. Chris is tall. So I think there's a lot of emphasis put on the weight. It is going to be hard for Eubank Jr to make weight. But, you know, we all have to make weight. But he's got an advantage, he's a bigger guy. So it's a topic. I don't think it's going to have a major effect.
We've got you for the next 15 minutes. We're going to have a quick break. When we come back, you fought both of the dads, so we'll get your view on that.
Beat both the dads. Make sure you say that, yeah?
You beat both of the dads.
So long ago, I forget. You know?
We'll remind you, don't worry about that. More from the superstar. It's Steve Collins right after this. Live on Drive on talkSPORT. Do not go anywhere. Welcome Matt Driver, talkSPORT. We're live from North London. The Chris Eubank Jr. the Conor Benn weigh-in is going to happen in about 15 minutes time, actually, behind us on stage. If you've got a smart telly, you're watching on YouTube, you'll see all that. So if you have, go turn it on. It's me, Andy Goldstein. Darren Bent is here on Motorpoint. Thousands of cars, all at unbeatable prices, guaranteed. Head to motorpoint.co.uk for details. We're going to be joined by a whole host of Fight Night superstars. Spencer Oliver, Gareth A. Davis have already been here. Well, Gareth's going to come back, actually, as we build up to tomorrow night's fight live on talkSPORT. Before the break, we were talking with Steve Collins, former 2-weight champion of the world. He's still with us. And you, of course, have fought both and beaten both. What was the major difference between their dads when you fought both of them?
I feared them and respected them both as much as each other, but they were different style of fighters in a way that Chris Eubank Jr. was the toughest guy I ever shared a ring with. You know, up until the last minute of the last round, he was dangerous. You know, you'd hit him your best shots and he just wouldn't budge. Then on the other hand, Nigel wouldn't have been as strong as Chris Eubank, but he had power. He had, I can only describe it as sickening power. He hit so hard. Even to this day, I remember it was a horrible, and the feeling I got when he hit me, I recall it right now, what I felt like when he hit me. And it was.
Is it one particular fight? One particular punch?
Well, it was the punch that landed, you know, and the people said to me, what was it like when Nigel landed a shot? And people who've heard it before, I'll repeat myself, but those that haven't, if ever you chip your tooth, you know, you get a, and you get a taste. But when Nigel Benn landed a shot with me, and I felt like he smashed my teeth, and I got a taste in my mouth that felt sick. But I looked at him, and I was still there, and I knew he landed his best shot, and that didn't hurt me. It knocked me out of me, and it didn't, you know, put me in any trouble. And I knew at that point almost then he can't knock me out. So I almost kind of took a half step forward and went, that's it now. I can beat this guy because I felt his biggest shot, and I'm still here. People talk about us making a comeback many years ago, and the money was great and so on, but I remember that punch, and I thought, a fighter never loses his power. We all slow down, so that means I'm going to slow down. He's not going to lose his power. And I went, no money would ever do it. And that, to me, the memory of that shot from Nigel Benn stopped me ever thinking of making a comeback to fight him again.
Did it ever surprise you? Because obviously you beat both, they fought twice. Can you ever understand why they never had the third?
Well, they should have. Well, they didn't, because it was a win and a draw. But I genuinely believe Nigel won the second fight. He should have got the decision in the second fight. They would have had a bigger fight and a third fight, and then I'd have probably never not gotten the scene then, you know. So it worked out to my advantage. But if they had given the decision to Nigel in the second fight, which he should have, it definitely would have been a rubber match. Yeah.
What is a moment like this like for a boxer? The night before the fight, you got one final weigh-in. The weigh-in doesn't really count; it's just for show. But there's we've got hundreds, maybe thousands of fans have come in. You can't see this. It's behind you lot, as it were. What was it like for you? Did you enjoy these moments, or did you just want to get?
At these moments, I was building up to the fight. I just, you know, kept myself away from everybody. We showed up for the weigh-in. I concentrated on the weigh-in, concentrated on my opponent, kept my mind focused. Oh, this is all going on around me. I never experienced that. I would have loved to have gone to my fights. You know, Conor and Chris Jr. would have loved to be at this show. Although they're in the ring fighting, they're not experiencing this. They're not having the fun and the buzz we're having. They're in there and they're going through a lot of pressure, a lot of stress. It's really hard for them to question everything they've done. Have I done the right thing? Have I said the right thing? It's just, you know, am I prepared? It's really hard for them. We're enjoying this. They're not. You know, so I can now enjoy going to a fight, but when I was fighting in my day, like them, I wasn't aware of all this, other than what I was concentrating on was just getting ready for the fight, making the weight. Well,
Steve, you're involved in some massive fights, as you said, world title fights. When you look at all of this, and you think about boxing in today's era, do you think it's, I won't say harder now to kind of be a boxer, but it just feels like nowadays there is so much more of a circus around there. The most important thing is you guys in the ring. That's what makes all of this. But there's so many media interviews now. There's social media. Do you think it'd be a harder boxing now as opposed to when you fought?
Absolutely, absolutely. It's so hard now because there's no escape. There's absolutely no downtime. There's no escape. Everywhere you go, there's a camera everywhere. Every building has a camera. Everybody has a phone with a camera, and you just have no escapism. And to me, to be successful in this day and age does not appeal to me at all. In our day, it was great. When you want to get a bit of attention, you show up somewhere public, people see you, and you go home, you change your cap, or you have a shave. No one even notices you on the street. Nowadays, you can't make a mistake. You know, what if you have an argument with one of your friends? You know, someone films it and all of a sudden it's out there and it's twisted and torn and exaggerated to something different. I mean, to be famous nowadays, it's just not worth it. I'm glad I had my era.
Yeah.
And people say, oh, the money they earn nowadays, believe me, they earn it. They earn in the ring no more than we did, but the lifestyle they have to live and how they have to live afterwards, I don't envy you. I don't envy what you've done in your career. I mean, you know, everywhere you go, you drive into town, people haven't. I saw so in town, and he was here, and he was there, and he'd done that, and he'd done this. You know what I mean? It's just, it's very hard nowadays. I don't envy them at all today. No.
Let me ask you two questions. One, am I getting older, or is that music too loud?
Loud.
Well, I can hear you, so
Okay,
maybe you're just going deaf.
I'm going what?
What?
No. Let me ask. I'm always curious. The stare down, right?
Yeah.
You stand in front of your opponent. You look into each other's eyes. Can you win or lose a fight at the moment? Can you see anything in your opponent that makes you go, oh, I didn't see that?
Well, you can, because, you know, if when I looked at my opponent, I wasn't playing the game. I was looking at them, but I'd talk to them. I'd always say something that would implant a message. I knew if they had a weekness.
Look at me.
If they had a weakness, I would tell them their weakness.
Oh my God!
Right? And that was the opportunity to tell them their weakness.
Yeah.
And they'd hear it, and they might go, yeah, but they've heard it. So I would instill something to try and put them down. You know, not put them down, but to undermine them.
When was the last time you had a proper stare-off? Proper one.
With you 2 minutes ago.
Come here, let's do it. I want to see into your eyes, all right? So, what can you see? Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't want to go
honestly.
anywhere. Steve Collins.
That's all I can do, the stare. After that, it all goes downhill, you know.
Who's got the best?
What?
Of a stare-off?
What? Here?
For you? No, when you're
For
a
me,
fighter. Who did you go? Because I've done that with Nigel Benn for a TV show.
Nigel scared me, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because he looked at me and it was no act. He looked at me like he's going to do me. And I'm looking at him saying,
Like, I
can't. I have to keep looking. I have to ignore it. You know. Yeah.
Right. Listen, we're in effectively over 24 hours. We'll be, if it's 6 o'clock, I expect them to walk in the ring about 9:30, 10. So we're about 28 hours away from the fight starting. What's your mind telling you? How's the fight going to go?
I hate to sit in the fence, you know. On paper, it looks like Chris because of size and experience and so on. But having seen the fighters, heard how they prepared, and the fact it's happened a bit later, 2 years on from the original, I think puts Conor in a better place. I think he's more mature, physically and mentally stronger. And I think it's not going to go the distance. I think Conor's going to be very dangerous at the beginning of the fight. And I think, you know, if they get through 4 or 5 rounds, I think he won't show anything new to Chris then. And I think it could be Chris the second half or later on the fight. That's me trying to give what I think is the result that I can see. I can't see it going the distance. I definitely see it inside the distance win. I think Conor's going to be very dangerous for the first couple of rounds. And I think once Chris sees what he's going to do on his approach and settles into it, gets his rhythm, then Chris then will make you a superior weight and strength and experience to take advantage of.
Sorry, Steve, is there a possibility though that Conor is too emotional and he goes for the first 2 rounds and that's him, all his energy gone?
Well, no, I think he's trained. I mean, you can train. I trained for a fight with second fight with Chris Eubank, and I had energy for every round because that's how I train for that fight. Other fights you can have a different style. You can go more flat-footed, more power. Other fights you can go busier, be more active. It's like long distance runner, sprinter. You can mix it up. That's how you train. I think Conor is aware of what he's going to have to do in this fight, and I think his dad has watched him in training and made comments that he's done the rounds at this pace. You know, it's a good selling point, and if it's fact, it's good for Conor. But that's why I can't pick a winner, because they both are good enough to beat each other. The punch, I do think that'll win it. I think Chris Eubank Jr.'s uppercut is going to be his dangerous punch, for Conor. Yeah. And I think Conor's going to come over the top because he's a smaller guy coming up. That's the shots I think is going to be more dangerous for each opponent.
When was the last time you had a chat with Nigel Benn?
Oh, a couple of years ago.
Are you okay?
Yeah. Oh, Nigel's a lovely guy, yeah.
So we're hoping Nigel's going to join us. If we get him, will you come join us as well?
Absolutely. And I had a chat with Chris not so long ago as well. He came to support the documentary they made on Mill Street.
Yes.
And he came along, and it was about me, but he came and he supported, and he was very positive about it. So I have no problem with either guy, you know.
Okay, brilliant. So in the last hour, what an hour, we're building up to both Conor Benn and Chris Eubank Jr. being on stage for that final time before, of course, they climb into the ring tomorrow night. It's live and exclusive on talkSPORT. We will have Adam Smith. He'll be on comms duty tomorrow night. He'll be joining us in just a moment. Nigel Benn, fingers crossed, will be here. Maybe we'll get Steve back as well. It promises to be a big and a brutal and a bad hour coming up live on Drive on talkSPORT after this. Do not miss it.